Hello, we're back with Morgan Hates Dawson Leary, episode 2. Because we're finally back. It feels like it's been ages. It shouldn't
Yes.
have been this long, really, until we were back covering some more Dawson's Creek on our spin-off of Morgan Hasn't Seen that we have started here on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel, Janine. It's Morgan Hasn't Seen TV. It's Discovering Dawson's Creek, as I'm going
Yes.
to lovingly call it, and I think it should be called as a series on its own, because this is something that is going to go on for an awfully long time on the It's a
Go on for a
Wonderful Podcast channel here, because this is our second episode in this series. Today we are covering episodes 3 and 4 of Dawson's Creek. Episode 3 called Kiss, and episode 4 called Discovery. And I say welcome back to Morgan Hates Dawson Leary, because Morgan didn't like Dawson Leary from the first 2 episodes, and he gets even worse, even only 4 episodes in to this 6-season show.
I mean, I want to say I did give you a bit of a heads up that, Dawson is our lead and we're really not going to like him in a lot of ways. And I kind of forgot how early it happens that we don't like Dawson. I mean, he's pretty insufferable. His kind of movie obsessed, idealistic, only way to think about life is through movies. Like,
Yeah,
not
I think we
having
spoke
a
a
way
lot
of
about that
thinking,
last time.
not having a way of thinking outside of that, already made him a little irritating to you, I think. And now it's kind of coming full force. And I've already even told you it's only going to get worse.
You have,
Um,
and it's
he's very
concerning,
entitled.
really.
When he's your lead character, his name is in the show, and we're just not feeling him. So, yeah.
I feel like he is perhaps where the phrase main character syndrome comes from.
Yes.
Because, when you say in life and in your own personal friendships and relationships and what have you, you have main character syndrome, meaning somebody thinks they're the center of attention all the time. And I just feel like it comes from Dawson's Creek because it so embodies Dawson perfectly, because he is the main character. It is a television show. His name is the show's title.
Yes.
But oh my God, does he act like it? Janine,
Yeah,
is he
all about
written
him
that way? Yes, he is.
Yes, I mean, people have harder things happening in their lives around him, but yet, one bad thing for him and the world has ended and only his issue matters. And so that's what we're kind of leaning into heavily, kind of going into these 2 episodes. So
It is, yeah. Should we start right away then? Because we don't need to explain the format of this show anymore or do anything like that. We had, of course, started a series on Peacemaker as well, DC's Peacemaker, which will be coming out in conjunction with the Dawson's Creek series here, but obviously won't take as long.
No. So, I mean, the just the whole kind of idea is we'll have like a rotation of shows kind of happening simultaneously on the show. Some shows will be shows that are new to me as well, that Morgan will share with me. I think his shows will be maybe more of a lighter variety as opposed to kind of in-depth kind of character stories. So
yeah, I almost want to treat my episodes for you, shall we say, of this particular show here as kind of one-off things. So they might not be, multiple episode narrative kind of things.
Yeah.
Not the shows themselves. I mean, our shows might not,
Yeah.
It might not take, for example, Peacemaker, I think he's going to take 4 episodes or something like that to actually complete that season of show. I don't think I want to do that with mine to you. I kind of just want to go, here's this one weird British thing. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And then like move on to the move on to another random thing after that, because I feel like
Yes, no, I
that'd be
like
fun.
that idea. I like that idea, and it'll still be
And
in
it
the TV
changes it up a
vein.
little bit.
Yes, and it'll still be in the TV vein of, obviously
Yes, it will.
the shows that are
Absolutely.
popular for you over there that I
Yeah.
would have no concept of, so I'm really excited kind of for that thought process because at least kind of the things I'm showing you are things that you are fully aware of that are a part of not just, like, American culture or American TV.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's gonna be a fun kind of back and forth with this and have a bunch of kinda different, things to peruse for people to watch of us kinda reacting to and discussing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but, Dawson's Creek is my all-time favorite show, so this is, probably the most exciting thing for me that we are covering on this new show. So,
Well,
yeah, I'm ready to crack on and talk about,
let crack on
episode
indeed.
3 of Dawson's Creek.
Episode.
So, as we've been doing it, I've been kind of, I shared my Dawson's Creek binder that I had
Forgive the
created.
glare. Yes, there it is.
Yes, that I have created, in my teen years watching the show. And I do have whole kind of synopses written out in here, printed out, and put in this binder. So I read from these what the episode is about. So we get into episode 102 because for whatever reason they just started on 100. So
That is the
102,
most
right?
deeply annoying thing I've
It
ever
is
heard in my
very
life.
annoying. So
It's the 3rd episode.
episode 102, episode 3, The Kiss. Dawson struggles to create the perfect setting for his first kiss with Jen, and Joey argues that all the scheming and planning to make the moment ideal is proof that Dawson is living in a Hollywood dreamland. His weekend plans with Jen are foiled again as he is enlisted to be the production assistant on a film project for the class that he's desperate to join. But Dawson finally gets his romantic moment with Jen, who realizes at the last minute that everything is just a little too contrived. Meanwhile, Joey meets and falls for a handsome and wealthy boarding school student who is equally taken with her. Pretending to be someone she's not to impress him, Joey jeopardizes her chances with him. Meanwhile, Pacey continues to doggedly pursue Miss Jacobs, who shows signs of cracking under the pressure.
Ah. Should we refer to this as a sexy episode, Janine?
Yes,
Is
this
that
was
what
a
it is?
very hormone-driven episode. So they're like,
Incredibly so.
we want to remind you that this is a story about teenagers, even though they all look 30. Um, this is about raging teen hormones.
Even they are 30, and the fact that I still consider Pacey a womanizer, even though the character is 15.
I think they're all meant to be like 15. Yes.
16 or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, you can't really be a womanizer at that age, I suppose, in the traditional sense of what that word means. Yet I still think he is one, because is he constantly going after Miss Jacobs? Yeah,
Yes, getting
he's
jealous
not
a little bit.
stopping.
Yeah. So definitely, very hormone driven episode for sure. Dawson, I love again Joey just calling out his ridiculous idealism of things. Him having to kind of set up this perfect kiss for Jen instead of just letting it be this organic moment between the two of them. Trying to
Why
stage it
Jen
just right.
even comes to enjoy spending time with him, I do not know.
Yes,
Because
and, like, she even says it to him, like, he asks her to do something, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm down," and then he, like, seems surprised that she wants to hang out with him, and,
I
like,
would be surprised as
she even
well,
and
Dawson.
yes, and she says that, she's like, "Why is there always this surprise on your face, Dawson, when I wanna spend time with you?" Well, we're all feeling the same type of
And I'm sat there
surprise,
going, "Yes, so am
Jen.
I. I'm very surprised."
Um,
You don't have to
so
just do what he says, Michelle Williams, just because he's the big guy of the town. Just because it's his creek doesn't mean you have to
just because he's the
you
big
have to
man
go
on the
through.
creek.
Big man on the creek doesn't mean you have to go through
Oh
with
my
all
god.
of his plans and schemes.
Yes. So this episode's kind of dealing in firsts for these characters, for these young characters.
Yes, these young
Um,
people.
so, we're delving into the planned first kiss of Jen and Dawson, and presumably Dawson's first kiss.
Is it a
Um,
good idea to plan such a thing? No.
No, it's definitely
No,
not.
Janine,
Um,
it's
Joey
not.
Joey's first kiss as well, and then Pacey's first time. So, um,
I
I
mean,
like
fair
that
play
they
to Pacey, you know. I mean,
Yes,
we have to applaud Pacey at this
yes,
point.
for the
He's
game that he was
succeeded in
spitting.
what they
Yeah.
he's succeeded in what they all want. It's the
Yes.
Finch from American Pie version of
Yeah,
the
pretty much.
situation that's gone on here.
Yeah,
And but even that was a little bit old. I mean, this is frankly illegal.
it
Um,
is very illegal.
it's
But I like
incredibly
that they were
illegal.
able to kind of tie all of these firsts together in a way that, like, it was all in one episode. It's all different storylines about the same thing, but it all felt like it worked and fit because, shows will try to do something like this where all the characters that, you have are conveniently dealing with the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
But how they made it play out, I think felt organic and natural and just kind of a great connective kind of tissue throughout the whole episode that they're all kind of dealing with these firsts and all kind of view it differently. Joey
View it very differently.
yes,
Very, very differently.
Joey finds herself attracted to this young, kind of rich boy, and he's
I
attracted
hate
to
this
her as
guy. What's
well,
his name?
but
Anderson
Anderson
McFloofy face or
Crawford,
something.
Anderson Crawford. Um,
Horrible,
and
horrible,
she's
disgusting,
really kind of
crappy name.
yes, and she's really kind of embarrassed at, like, who she is, and, so she makes up the story that she's some rich girl also kind of visiting from New York with her parents and makes up this whole kind of life for herself. And she has this moment where she could kiss him, but I think she holds back because she knows she's being dishonest. And then there's also, I think, a part of her who holds back as well because she has these kind of unresolved feelings for Dawson and she kind of doesn't want to
Yes.
really betray that fully, which they don't really say that, but we've already kind of been hinting that she has this kind of these feelings towards Dawson. Um,
Question.
yes.
Why can't Katie Holmes pick nice men?
Well, we'll get there. We'll definitely
In
get there.
real life and on Dawson's Creek.
Oh goodness.
He's
Don't
after
shame them.
Dawson and Anderson, hateable person.
I mean, he's not
Why?
he was not a terrible person.
He looks like he belongs in Caddyshack.
What? I mean, he could have been a lot more snobbish, and he could have called her out because he realized that she was lying at a certain point, but
I'm
he
sorry,
was
was he not snobbish?
I
He
think
was a
for
little bit snobbish, reading on his yacht.
I mean,
Come
his
on.
actions on his own, like being on his boat, playing his violin, whatever. But
Playing
like
his violin.
towards Joey, like he was very much kind of having fun banter conversation with her,
Yes,
wasn't being so
okay.
elite. He's someone who like hates the idea of boarding schools, like your parents are shipping you off. It just doesn't seem right. Like, so
Yeah,
he's
but he's
not
still
someone who
wearing one of those sweaters over his shoulders, Janine.
He is, he is. They have to play into those stereotypes. But I think his chemistry with Joey and in terms of them kind of, being toe for toe with how they are able to interact and kind of, banter with each other, I think played really well and humanized him beyond some kind of preppy guy. And, added thing elements to the character to make it seem like someone that Joey could be into.
That's
Um,
fair. It is very natural. It's certainly the most natural feeling of the three relationships we're
yes.
dealing with now. At the minute, it does feel genuine. It does feel kind of I don't want to say natural again, but spontaneous. It feels like they're not thinking about really what they're saying or what stage we're going for or about
Yeah.
having a kiss when they do have a kiss. It just happens. And yes, okay, we can I think from the outside perspective, we can say this is probably the best way of going about doing it
Yeah.
anyway. And it's certainly the most healthy way of going about doing it from the three different versions we get in this episode.
Yeah.
Even though she does lie to him about, my name's actually Deborah. I'm very fancy as well. No, you're not.
Yes, which I just kind of, we did an
Add some
episode
humor.
we did some episode talking about From Here to Eternity and how it kind of pops up in everything. So just very funny that this episode kind of
I mean,
opened.
It
and
did.
opened
Burt
with that
Lancaster and
famous
Deborah Carr on the beach. Yeah.
yes, and so, just really had me kind of thinking about, how that kind of scene pops up all the time in things, and, yeah.
It does. I mean, Dawson in his movie obsessed mind is going to watch Burt Lancaster and Deborah Carr on the beach in From Here to Eternity and go, I want that for my first kiss. That's the perfect first kiss. And yes,
Yes,
okay, we can all say, yes, it's wonderful. It is one of movie history's great kisses.
yes,
It is. But we can't stage these things in real life.
yeah,
Dawson, can we, like you attempt to do? And Michelle Williams gets very offended.
yes,
Obviously.
yes, so,
Why
um
would you choose to film it?
well, I know. Well, speaking of Jen, also, I think with Joey's storyline, I think it was a great, another step in kind of bonding a relationship between the two of them because she
Yeah,
finds herself working at the ice house where it's her family's restaurant, and she seems like in a very chipper mood, and so Dawson and Jen are kind of like, why is Joey so happy? Usually she's kind of surly and sarcastic, but she's really nice and like making recommendations, and so everyone's kind of confused. And then here comes this guy coming up and calling her Deborah, and Dawson's like so confused and not really getting the hint to play along. Jen immediately gets what's happening and chimes in to kind of cover for Joey and call her,
yeah,
oh, Dawson's like, "Who's Deborah?" And he's like, "She's Deborah." He's like, "No, she's not." And so, I love that Jen chimes in, "Oh, no, well, she's just Deb to us." And she kind of immediately gets it and kind of understands this kind of girl code to help cover for Joey. Meanwhile, Dawson's just being kind
yes,
of an
it is
ass.
quite funny.
And I love the kick that they, where they both simultaneously kick him under the table when he like says something out of turn that could kind of blow her cover. And then even Bodhi, her sister's, boyfriend, who, kind of also steps up and kind of covers for her because her sister keeps calling her to come, like, do something, like, pick up this to-go order, and she can't because she's next to this guy, and he doesn't know the truth about her, and here comes Bodhi bringing out the order and acts like he doesn't know her. So I love that everyone kind of comes together and gives Joey this little moment to, just be somebody else for a little bit because, her life is
Yes,
very kind of
she deserves it,
difficult.
Janine.
Yes, and so,
She
you don't really
deserves a shred of happiness
yes, you
in the
don't
world.
really blame her too much for the lie that she tells because,
No,
she deserves a moment to kind of feel like somebody else and not feel like, this townie who's not going anywhere, who's kind of been ostracized because of things that are out of her control.
and
Um,
look, it seems like this Anderson guy is kind of he's not always going to be around. I don't know if he's always going to be around. I couldn't.
no, no, no,
But
no. This
it
is the only
seems
time we
like
see him.
yeah,
Once once the
it very much appears that way. So
yeah.
you can forgive a little bit of a white lie because it still feels like a fairly natural kind of connection of
Yes,
people,
and
and I
so,
like that.
and they tie up that's this little storyline for her pretty nicely. She sees him one last time and he kind of says, "Hey, here's my number. Call me. I'll take you out to eat when we're, in New York because I go there all the time." And she's like, "Oh no, I'm from the east side. I like to go to this whatever restaurant." And
Yeah.
he's about to say, "Oh, well, that restaurant." And he's like, "Never mind." And then she kind of realizes that she maybe said something wrong. And then she does ask Bodhi, her sister's boyfriend, "Oh, that restaurant, is it still there?" And he's like, "Oh no, it's not even on that side of town. It closed down like years ago or whatever." And so then she realizes he knows that so nothing's gonna happen here. And she like just lets she has his phone number on a piece of paper and she just kind of drops it out the car window.
Yeah.
But she got her
But
first kiss, she got this really nice moment with somebody that
yeah.
wasn't Dawson and kind of opened herself up to, what else is out there. So I liked kind of how Joey's storyline played out, how, it did things to inform her character. It kind of also expanded, a little bit on her potentially opening up a friendship to Jen because they had such kind of a harsh beginning. So it did a little bit to kind of, advance the character in a lot of ways and get us to know her a little bit more. So I like that she got this character first kiss moment for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, like we say, I think Dawson's completely got his side of this entirely wrong. he goes up to this fort, castle, whatever thing it is.
So it's the ruins. It's called the ruins.
The
It's this
ruins.
yeah, basically it's got this very kind of romantic story. This man built it for his wife because she loved to travel, and then she got sick and couldn't travel anymore, I think to Greece, and so he tried to bring Greece to her by building this beautiful kind of
Okay.
garden with pillars and a pond and swans and things like that.
Okay.
And since the man
Yes.
has since died, his son owns it now, so you kind of it's private property, so when you go there you have to kind of sneak in to do it,
Yeah.
and he's doing it under this guise of filming the final scene of the movie because he's making this monster movie, and the whole kind of plot point in the movie is that Jen was in love with was fearful of the monster, but then she kills the monster, and it turns out the monster is her long lost love or whatever.
Yes.
So the whole point of the scene is this sadness of realizing that the man she loved was the monster. So he's kind of directing her to have these emotions, and he's hanging like fancy silky curtains and lighting candles and playing, soft music and really trying to set the vibe supposedly for this dramatic scene. But
When
really
it's actually all for his
to
own
stage this.
personal
Yeah,
benefit,
to stage that first kiss. Yeah.
which is just it is silly. It does not go well. It's noticed exactly
Immediately.
what's going on by Jen, and she's having absolutely none of it. And she just
Yes.
tells him, she
"What
says
are
to him,
you
"What
doing?"
are you doing? Why is the camera on?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Have you planned this? This is
Yeah.
ridiculous. What are and then he's just kind of morose in himself, isn't he? Saying, "Well, this is how it's supposed to be. It's not how it's supposed to be, you whiny, pathetic creature."
Yes. And then we kind of bounce back.
Overstaging things
Yes.
like that. I mean, it's absolutely
It's too
ridiculous.
much, it's too much. He has these celluloid fantasies, and he can't look beyond that in and kind of
It's
find anything.
dangerous, really. It's
Yes,
dangerous. He
he
belongs in
can't.
therapy.
You can be inspired by movies, and movies can relate to you in a lot of ways, and movies can speak to you and even answer philosophical questions you have about life and things like that.
Yes.
But
Do you not
you
think
have to
we
have
deal
that
with that
line.
every
Yeah, of
week?
course. But you have to kind of know that there's a line between this fantasy and reality, and you can't make it your whole personality. You can't make it your be all end all and how you know, walk through life. And that's
No.
where he kind of is right now, is that he's so idealized. His life is pretty much perfect. And he has his movies. And so the only way he can really experience things and the only way he kind of wants to experience things is through the guise of like what happens in these movies. So
And
he's
it's not
very
healthy,
much,
Janine. It's not healthy.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, speaking of fantasies, though, I mean, we're condemning Dawson for being a fantastical-minded individual, but Pacey and you know the ultimate fantasy of the attractive teacher when you're a
Yes.
15, 16-year-old is a very obviously prevalent fantasy all over the
Yeah.
world in
And
for many different people in many different eras. And well, Pacey succeeds in this aspect, doesn't he? However, there is a catch to this as well
yes. So I
that we
mean
come
the
on to
whole
seeing in the second episode that we're dealing
Y
with.
yes. So, he's still very much trying to pursue her, but she's kind of keeping it very she's trying to rein it back because she knows this is wrong. She knows they can't do this, but something about Pacey is speaking to her, so she's very conflicted in how she's approaching this whole situation. So she's kind of endorsing his flirtations, but also kind of pushing him back. Um, and so it's in this weird place where he's just become very persistent. um,
Yes.
he becomes jealous when he sees her talking to, the film teacher, and that kind of whole energy is happening between the two of them, to the point where now, like, she's he messes up on a test, and so she offers to kind of tutor him, and, it gets to the point where, she's actually helping him, like, learn stuff. So, she teaches him something, he learns something about this book report that he has to do, and then he thinks kind of his reward should be, more happening.
Action
And so
Station Zero, as I'm gonna call it.
exactly. So she kind of does this reverse psychology thing to him where she's like, "Okay, fine, let's do it on my desk. Take off your pants. Come on." And he's like,
Right now.
yes, and he gets very nervous and she's like, "Oh, well, I thought you were all about this. I mean, this shouldn't be your first time." And then he gets very embarrassed and he's like, "You know that it is." And he gets very kind of shy. And this is like the first time we see him really, he's been pushing for this and pushing for this and, being all kind of super confident with her. And then when she really challenges him, I like that, knowing that this man, he's like 20 something years old and has to play this 15-year-old, he really captures that. That
Yeah,
really
he
that really
does, to be fair.
naive, nervous, kind of embarrassed, inexperienced, kind of thought process. So I love that he really takes it there and reins it back, to this really kind of, um, strong sense of immaturity and inexperienced, kind of thought. So I love that he is able to take it there in that moment when she really challenges him because he kind of is pushing too hard.
It helps that Joshua Jackson has had a baby face.
Yes.
So while he is obviously older, he can, naturally convey
Yeah.
youthfulness in that
Yes.
sense. But it is the first time I think we've seen Pacey be unconfident about himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's always
Um,
self-deprecating and never feeling like he's kind of good enough
yes,
or could have someone like her look at him, but because she's now endorsed him with kisses and things like that, he is feeling a lot more self-confident in this dynamic.
no,
So
but I mean,
for
he's a talker, isn't he? He's a
yes.
talker. He's somebody that is not loud and abrasive and brash and all these kind of things, but he's not afraid of his own presence.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
in that particular scene, it's the first time we've seen him be afraid of his own presence.
Yeah.
He just wants to kind of curl up and go away and hide off somewhere.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfectly natural way of feeling in that particular instance, yes. But obviously, later on it ends up actually progressing to a little bit of external surroundings as well. Actually, not even it's not even inside. I
Yes.
mean, they're going
So
all out, really, aren't they? It's
yes.
outside. It's in the middle of a field.
Well, so no, we do end the episode with, we have Jen and Dawson at the ruins. She's pissed about the staged kiss, and the camera was
Yes.
is set up there to record it. They kind of get in this fight, and then they hear somebody coming. So Dawson kind of moves the camera kind of into a corner in the ruins. They hide underneath this crate, and we see a couple kind of run in like giddily and so we kind of cut back between this couple. We don't really see who they are. Um, and then we cut to Dawson and Jen kind of hiding. And they're really in this little tight space and things are falling in their hair. And so he's brushing the things out of her hair and just kind of the proximity of them being so close and like hidden away. And maybe the rush of having to hide. All of this kind of builds up into an organic first kiss between Jen
It
and Dawson.
does. It does, and it feels much better, really, doesn't
Yeah.
it? It's a bit of relief in that sense, and no, you don't know who this couple is, do you? But
And
we
then we get a
soon learn who
glimpse
it
of
is.
we see that the camera is recording and we see Miss Jacobs. We see her face fully. Somebody is kissing on her and holding her and somebody's, just made love and then we see that it is in fact Pacey
Yes,
and Miss Jacobs have just
I
made
mean
love
they might
at
as well
the
be doing
ruins.
this action and giving it all kind of this in the
Yes,
you
in
know
the scene
in
because
the camera to each other. I
we
mean, it's
only see
absolutely
her
ridiculous.
face, in the camera. So now we know that Dawson's camera picked up Miss Jacobs, and we know as an audience that it was Pacey. Um,
Yes,
and that's kinda how the episode leaves us. So,
yes.
episode
Episode 4.
102, episode
102 is
3,
Kiss,
The
yes.
Kiss. What were your kind of culmination thoughts of episode 3, Dawson's Creek?
Yeah, I mean, just more despair at Dawson, but enjoyed the fact that the relationship moments that we got in it. really all three of them ended up being pretty naturally, came together pretty
Yeah,
naturally in the end.
yeah,
Um, but just three very distinct, different mentalities about that
yeah,
kind of stuff that, in each three main relationships we had there. Um, it does. It speaks to who they all are a little bit more. I certainly am still entirely team Joey, team
okay,
Katie Holmes. I think I'm just
okay,
I like I'm behind her. I think the show has gotten me behind her.
yes.
Um, so and very very much anti Dawson, incredibly so. But episode
All
4,
right.
Discovery, does this leave me feeling anti Dawson, or do I have a little bit of sympathy for him given what happens in this episode, Janine?
Yes. Okay. So back to the binder for episode 103, Discovery. Dawson is surprised to find scandalous footage of Ms. Jacobs and an unidentified man making love outdoors after he accidentally leaves his camera on location and running overnight. Panicked, Pacey reveals to Dawson that the tryst is between he and Mrs. Jacobs. Meanwhile, on the eve of Dawson's parents' 20th anniversary, Dawson discovers that his mother has been having an affair with her co anchor, and Joey has known about it. Hurt and confused, Dawson wants desperately to tell his father. To further confuse matters, Jen reveals that she had been leading life in the fast lane in New York, which is why her parents sent her away. Completely put off, Dawson doesn't know how to respond to the fact that Jen is not a virgin.
Yes. Episode 4 should be entitled I'm Dawson. I'm so upset about everything. So I'm just going to now be really rude to everyone.
Yes. So he is very shitty to all three of his friends. Um,
Everyone.
yes.
Jen is trying to be really open with him.
Vulnerable with him, and he even and he and she's saying, at your request, because after finding out about his mom's infidelity and her lying, he makes this kind of deal with Jen. Okay, can we just promise to be honest with each other, always be real with each other? So then
It's like
she that
naturally, okay, I understand he's obviously very upset about this. It's going to come as a fairly
Yes,
strict
but he
shock to
uses
him.
this as a bridge to then judge other people.
He does, and
um
this is wrong.
y-
He shouldn't be doing this.
yes,
Be
so
angry at your, if anyone, be angry at your mother and Bob. You know,
exactly.
Bob,
Yes, Bob the co-anchor.
Bob the
So
co-anchor. Be angry at them, not your friends who are there to help you, and your new girlfriend who's there to try and build a relationship with you.
yes, so they've since kissed and they're in a good place, and everything's going really good. And yeah, he finds out about the affair because he is, cutting some footage and stuff. His mom's allowing him to use the editing office at her news
Yes.
station. So he's there doing that, and as he walks out with Jen, she's like, "Oh, there's your mom," and she sees the mom kind of making out with Bob right there, and he's totally
Not
taken
very
aback.
subtle from
No!
from her and Bob, though, really, is it? I mean,
Yes,
right in the
right,
middle
right there, the of where
of
you work.
work.
Yes. So, and it is like the eve of his parents' big 20th anniversary, so now Dawson is in
Bad
this weird.
timing as well.
Yes.
It's all
So
going
he's
wrong.
in this weird place of wanting to, um, tell his father, but he doesn't know if he should. And then, Jen, she was there when this happened and she's sitting with him. And I feel really bad for her that she's like, I know we've never really talked about deeper things, and our relationship kind of is a lot of just fun banter and stuff like that. And we're still kind of getting to know each other. Um, but if you need someone to talk to, I want to be that person and I'm here. And then it immediately cuts to him going to Joey to talk to her about it.
Yes, it does.
Um,
You
only
feel very,
for
very bad for
Jen,
Jen at
for
this point.
yes.
But this is
And
because she has or does in this episode reveal, to
yeah,
him as
but I
well the
don't know that
truth of
she's
why she's there.
yeah, so she hasn't revealed that yet.
Oh no, she does it later on. I mean, but
Oh, yes.
it builds up to that sense of feeling by the end of the episode that you just kind of you really dislike him after this
But
episode.
even how yes, because even how he bounces around because the people don't do anything, like World According to Dawson, because he goes immediately to Joey to talk to her about this and vent to her, and then he finds out that she knew and didn't tell
Yeah,
him, and she tries to explain, like, "I didn't want you to be mad at me, I know you, you would have blamed me for telling you, and, I just didn't know how to tell you." And he, is pissed at her because she wasn't honest with him and she knew. So then he immediately runs back to Jen because he's pissed now at Joey because she knew. And that's when, he's venting to her and talking to her and, now kind of just using her because now he doesn't feel like he can talk to Joey and makes her kind of second fiddle, even though she was very much wanting to be first fiddle in that moment.
yeah.
So that already feels kind of inky, him kind of bouncing between people because they're not good enough for him in the moment that he needs them or whatever.
And
And
he's
this is
just sat
where
there, James Van Der Beek's doing this really just kind of blank, stony
oh,
stare.
yes, when he first right after he first sees it and she's kind of trying to talk to him and he's completely blank stare, like he's not even listening to her. And when she's like, "I wanna be that person," he turns and looks at her, and then it cuts to him going straight to Joey,
I
which
would
just
just
feels
like to point out that all of my distaste for Dawson comes in no part with distaste for James Van Der Beek. I really
No,
enjoy
he's
James
great,
Van Der
like,
Beek. I
I
think
love
he's
James
great.
Van Der Beek. And Dawson has some better moments kind of later, but it's very much not, mm,
He just seems to
uh,
be good at playing really self-centered.
yes. He has a lot to learn for sure. So then, yeah, he's walking with Jen and she's feeling this energy from him that something kind of is off. And he, is opening to her, he's venting to her, and then that's when he kind of implores her that they only have honesty between each other, that he doesn't want to have a relationship with lies or anything like that because he's, it's very frustrating seeing his mom be like that. So he says he wants honesty. So then that's when she decides to tell him about the truth about her, that,
Yeah.
her parents sent her to Cape Side to live with her grandmother because she had a very fast-paced life. She was sleeping with a bunch of
Wild
guys,
child.
doing drugs and drinking and hanging with the wrong crowd and all of those really bad things. And so when he finds out she's not this perfect virginal girl that he always, pictured her as, he
Because
gets
he's a
really
vampire and he has to have
yes,
perfect virginal girls so he can
exactly,
drink
right?
their
Right?
blood.
And, she really opens up to him. She's really honest with him in a moment that, immediately in a moment that he's asking that of her. So she takes the chance to tell him the truth, and he completely judges her. He's so awful to her. He shuts
He
down,
really is.
obviously, to the point where she has to ask him to hold her hand because she's feeling this disconnect immediately from him after she tells him. And then he's really kind of shitty to her at school, kind of ignoring her, too busy to hang out with her. Sorry, I have plans kind of attitude. Um, then he even talks to so then Pacey, now we get into his story where Dawson first finds the tape. He sees this somebody is on the tape with Miss Jacobs. He doesn't know who it is. They're kind of talking about it in their little friend group, the four of them. And Pacey is like asking all these questions and is really concerned.
I
And
mean, Pacey, frankly, is absolutely cacking himself at this particular point.
yes, he's very stressed. And Joey thinks he just wants a copy of the tape because he's being a perf, but he just wants it to
Yes.
like destroy it. And so, Dawson finds him even in his room looking around for the tape. And his frantic behavior ultimately implores him to then reveal to Dawson that it's him on the tape. And I love, again, this naivete and this very kind of coy shyness from him when he asks Dawson, like, how did I look? Did I look like I was doing a good job? And like very much teenage guy friend conversation. So I love when these actors are really able to tap into feeling like teenagers because of how, kind of ridiculous these shows do these people putting these old ass people in these roles,
Yeah.
expecting us to
And
believe
and
that they're
and
15.
obviously having them, use this incredibly eloquent language.
Yes. This very mature way of speaking and all of that. So when they can tap into something that feels organically teenage and make it feel convincing, which Joshua Jackson is great at doing a lot. I think he's the best at that.
Yeah.
And of course, Katie Holmes, because she was actually kind of a teenager when she started doing the show still. So, yeah, I think he again taps into that when he kind of shyly asked Dawson, "Oh, did I look okay, man, on the tape? Like, did I look like I was doing a good job?" Like, he's really
Let's
wants
just
to know.
imagine this for a second as well, in real life, as, a teenager or whenever you may have,
Yeah.
partaken in such involvements, for your first occasion.
Yeah.
Getting your best friend to come into the room at the time just to make sure you were doing it okay. Why do you need that?
I
There's
don't
only one
know.
person who
Like,
should
you
be
need that
asking if it was
validation
okay.
from your friend who hasn't had sex, but, like,
You know,
you just need someone who knows you to just be like, "Dude, from what
go
I
and
could
ask
tell,
Miss
it did
Jacobs.
a
Miss Jacobs is the only person who can tell
who
you if you were
could
okay or
yes,
not.
but just kind of in I guess, aesthetically, like, how did it look, I guess? I don't
What does
know.
it matter? It doesn't
I
matter.
don't
Does it
know.
matter?
Well, it
I
matters
don't
to
know.
it matters to a 15-year-old boy who's never had sex before,
It
you know?
quite possibly does, Ginny.
Yes. So that felt teenage boy to me that he would like think about that of
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
things, not even in this one moment, the higher implications of if anyone else saw this tape. He's not even thinking about that right
No.
now. He just wants like, did I look okay, dude? Like, and I like that kind of innocence that comes out of the character in that moment. Um, and yeah, so then later in the video store, they both work at the video store, and um Dawson is complaining about Jen not being this perfect virginal girl. And Pacey trying to like tell him, like, dude, she's being very vulnerable to you. She's making it okay that, she's obviously kind of open to that. I mean, Pacey's perspective is kind of icky as well, kind of telling him,
Bec
she's
This is
leaving
because
the door.
Pacey is just a sex addict, I think.
Yes. So the fact that he views it as she's leaving the door open, saying that it's okay to be more kind of, I guess, you know, sexual with her or something. I don't know, like kind of what
Basically, he's
Pacey.
saying, "Yeah, go on, get involved, go on."
Yes,
He's
because you
giving it the
know that.
nudge. Nudge, nudge, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
get in
Like
there, and all this business.
she told you to make it easier for you so you don't feel, you know, like um so
Pressure.
yeah, so you don't feel pressure, that she's experienced, so she can guide you and whatever kind of, so
Yes.
that's kind of Pacey's mentality of how he's
And that's
talking
not
to
what's going
Dawson.
on at all.
Yes, but he is so just, like, self-righteous about it, Dawson, that, like, "Oh my gosh, no, it's so wrong. How dare she?" And, like, then he's even kinda just mean, kind of rude to Pacey because, he thinks Pacey now thinks, you know, he's,
Pacey
like,
is now the
hot
sex
st
god of the
Yes.
creek.
Yes. So now he kind of shames Pacey as well. So he's just over here just kind of like shitting on all his friends, and it's just like, "Ugh, Dawson,
He
like
is, and
just."
that's really what kind of the whole episode
Yeah. Yeah.
is him just because he's so over focused on, the shock of finding out about his mum and
Yeah.
Bob, that
That
he
he
is
kind of just
just
lashes out.
yeah, he just lashes out to one friend after the other. And
Yes.
and
And so
that's where your episode leaves you. After
yes.
all that, when he's just in a really sad state and you just feel like, "Oh, well, he's really made himself out to be a pleasant person there, hasn't he, over the
Yeah.
last hour? Thanks very much,
Yeah.
Dawson."
Dawson. Yeah. So yeah, and then he even kind of sees his mom and is really kind of cold to her as well, obviously.
He
The
is,
one
yes, he
person
is.
who is deserving of that kind of response. And
He
I do
very
like that
nearly does
Jen.
tell his dad.
Yeah, but he ultimately doesn't say anything. So
His
he's kind
dad's
of
just a
holding the
very
thing still.
happy man.
Yes, he's really excited. They're going on their 20th anniversary date, all this stuff. And I do like that Jen actually calls him out, because he's very badly trying to convince her that everything's fine between the two of them.
Mm.
And so she kind of lists off all of his thought processes about her being upfront with him in this situation. Oh, so I'm not this perfect girl that you thought I was, and now I'm not good enough for you, and da 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 da. And like he doesn't really answer yes or no to any of
Bec
this.
because
Eh,
she's nailing it every single time, that's why.
yes. So now they are kind of not they end the episode not really in a good place, but he ultimately does make up with Joey by the end.
He does, but it's still quite a sad episode all in all, really,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes, because Dawson is just kind of railroading everybody. So, yeah.
Yes, I certainly hope we get on to a little bit more. I don't want to say necessarily happiness, but
Oh, well,
a little bit
this
more personal connection and actual geniality, perhaps, in the
um,
next couple.
well, the next episode, it definitely is going to be one of those everything comes to a head episode.
Ooh, okay.
Um, it's an episode with a hurricane, so everyone's kind of, you know, confined and bottled up,
Ooh,
and
ooh,
so
it's like Key Largo. It's a bottle noir, isn't it? It's not a noir, but
Yes.
you know what I mean.
Well,
Key
yes,
Largo
no.
is.
Well, we are gonna get some Dutch angles. I
Oh
believe.
well.
I do believe. I do believe we get
Oh
some Dutch
dear.
angles in that episode to add to the drama.
Does Dawson start watching The Third Man and go, "Ooh, the camera always has to be like
Dutch
this now"?
angles. Yeah, so we're gonna get some well, on part of the show makers, not Dawson. So,
Okay.
I think we're gonna get some dramatic Dutch angles, I wanna say, in this episode.
Maybe they are
But yeah.
going for a bottle noir then, a la Key
Yes,
Largo in the
very
hurricane.
much a hurricane coming, everyone kinda sheltered in place, forced together in a space, and tensions kind of just, you know.
Shouting matches ahead.
So, yes, that's what we're looking at, I think, in the next
Daddy,
episode,
oh
so.
dear. Soapy teen show that Dawson's Creek
Yes.
is. I'm enjoying it, Janine. I'm enjoying
So
it.
you really are,
Yeah, no,
honestly.
I am. I
Good.
definitely am.
Yay.
Again, I kind of just wanted to carry on kind of watching it really and had to obviously stop after 2 episodes because that's the way
Yes.
we are pacing these, aren't we, Pacey? Yes, we are. That's
Yes,
how we're
and I do
pacing
just
these.
wanna shout out the fact that, these episodes are the episodes you actually see. I believe episode 3 is the episode where you see them wearing their Funko Pop outfits.
Ah, okay.
Yes,
Applause
yes,
there. We like
yes.
that. Well, there we go, I think then, Janine, for
Yeah.
this episode of Discovering Dawson's Creek on the Morgan Hasn't Seen TV spin-off, which is what this is on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Subscribe, ding your notification bells up there if you enjoy this to check out all the other stuff we have on this channel as well. Plenty more on its way. The last sort of few weeks or so have been rather hectic in more
Yes.
ways than one for both of us. But we're getting back to normal service very, very soon indeed. All the stuff has been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen as well, like all the social medias, all the other shows we have on the main podcast feed. It's a Wonderful Podcast on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe there to find our main shows over there. This show's parent show, and It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, and Monday shows as well that will be returning. All that fun stuff. Donation links and Patreon links in the description as well, including all our social media links as well, actually, are down there too. But there we go. That's going to do it, Janine. There's only one thing left to do. Do it in the style of the Dawson's Creek theme tune. I feel like that's what we should be doing now. I don't know how you count down in that style.
I don't know how.
But,
Like, why do you put me in these situations?
I don't know. I don't know why I do it.
3, 2, 1 for our lives to be over.
It works. It works. We have to do that every time.
No.